Welcome into a special edition of the MOY Ploy. I'm Jake Harris, and I'm here with my co-host, Peter O'Donnell.
It's good to be back. Once again, another great week in fantasy football.
Yes, special edition coming up. I am so excited. All right, let's get into starting business as usual. We're going to talk about the scores. Peter, you want to start that one out?
Sure, I think the most interesting game of the week, we'll take it from the top, was Todd Moy Forever versus Borden, who claims to be the rightful Moy. Borden, it came down to the last game and the last pass of the game. Cam Newton got him 1 tenth of a point above Todd. That's all he needed.
Now, this comes down to literally if Juju just leans forward on a single play instead of getting tackled backwards, that's all it took is 1 yard of a difference. That's how close this game was. I thought my game with 0.66 points was close. No, this game was unbelievable.
These are the games Todd was winning last year, and this year it just hasn't it
You're
hasn't
so
gone
right,
his
dude.
way.
You are
He
so
did
right.
the game when Tyler Lockett had 55 points.
Yeah,
Moy Play couldn't pull out the dub. He came close, but he couldn't. That was a close game. Another one.
that's a great observation, Peter. Take
Yeah.
us through. Let's go into Avengers versus Corona 19.
Again, once two top tier teams. I think they were the top two scoring teams. After this game, it looks like Todd's Avengers have overtaken Brent's Corona 19. Um,
Yeah,
It
it was
was
a
just a
really
bad week. It was just
anemic
a bad. It was
performance.
just
Yeah,
yeah. I think you just had underperformance by his players. That happens.
yeah. And you would think, like, with his team in a week where Jerry Judy gets him, what, 25? Yeah, you'd think he'd be popping off, but nope, not this
No.
time.
Ooh,
Speaking of a beatdown,
the
yikes.
curse of Barkley's bite. This is the latest in the season Ray has ever been tied for first place. After being called out in last week's episode in the power rankings,
Uh,
Ray takes it to the next level, and all of a sudden has a reemergence of Josh Allen
yep. And
and Drew Lock. Drew
I
Lock.
said I said last week, as Josh Allen goes, so goes Ray's team, and
Yep.
that was it. Drew Lock. That's just insulting.
I
Drew
know.
Lock hasn't
That's
done
the
anything
cherry.
all
That's a
year.
cherry on top of a great. Yeah.
Like, look at that,
Two
19 points.
QBs. That's why two QBs carried. Like, look at this. This is like okay. So on my matchup, I lost to the two QB team. Goat God.
Hmm.
He has Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert as two top performers,
You
and
know, if we look, I'm pretty sure I think I had Goat Squad in the bottom of the power rankings. He got a win.
he
Borden,
got to win. He got to
bottom of
win
the power
bigly.
rankings, got a
Got
win.
to win.
Ray, bottom of the
Barkley,
power
bottom. Yep.
rankings,
Got to
got a
win.
win. I think I may have I think I flipped the Todds at one point, and I think I put Todd fourth,
I
and
put
put
I put
Todd
Todd
Craig fourth, and I think I
I
took.
put Todd Moy Forever in eighth in my power rankings, and that was spot on.
All right, that's pretty much it for the recap. Let's get into a little bit of. We're gonna touch on it real quick. A little bit of mischief mismanaged here.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda, man. All right, there's not too many people who really have a bad case of the coulda, shouldas. And you would have had to have managed a perfect week in order to pull off a win.
Hmm.
If you had started Jared Cook and Jamison Crowder instead of Robert Tonyan and David
I
Johnson.
get the dub. It
And my
didn't
dad,
go that way.
there was actually, you'd think to make up point 0.1 points, there would be a lot of things he could have done. He could have started a different quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater did pop off.
Mhm.
And he could have started just about anyone instead of Tyler Lockett. But I feel like that's not necessarily his mismanagement to start Tyler Lockett. But we're
No,
here to make fun of you for it. So, you dumb SOB.
we all would have done it, but
Yeah, yeah,
it
dumb
was
B.
somewhere else along the way. Something should have been fixed.
Yeah, yeah. All right, cruising right along. Let's go ahead and talk about. Um,
Panic bus.
yeah, so
Oh,
this week was big for the standings, bro. This week was very big. We're gonna go into some secondary matrix.
okay. Breaking down the matrix.
Yes, I think it's time for some secondary matrix because everything is all tied up. And honestly, secondary matrix, all of a sudden are the primary matrix. Because if we finish the season with a lot of ties, the secondary matrix are going to be the tiebreakers. Let's take a look.
And all of a sudden,
I've got
the
them.
things we talked about that people thought, it doesn't have, that's not a big deal. Wait a second, now they're dictating who's going to be
Mhm.
participating for the
Like,
ship.
look at this. Tied for first, Phil, because he has the second worst scoring in the league, is actually going to miss the playoffs if the season ended today.
Yep.
And that's why I still feel comfortable putting Phil where I had him in the power rankings. Let's take a look. So the secondary matrix, Brent has lost his lead on first to Todd Craig, and Todd Craig has stormed off with it. He is took it, I
Oof.
think, last week, and it really hasn't looked back.
He's got a
7-point
two
lead.
QB stack, Aaron Rodgers and Kyler Murray. Again,
Well,
your point
Brent,
potential every week is super
Brent
high.
has a 2 QB stack now, which
Russell
we can talk
and
about that.
we'll be bringing that up next in about a couple segments later,
Uh-huh.
and we'll talk about that.
All right, and
Uh,
then
Moy,
OJ
oh,
locking it down, third
the Moy,
place.
the
Barkley's
one
bite.
true
This
Moy.
is the one that if Barkley's bite can keep this up, he is a very viable playoff contender because he was hanging out down there with Goat Squad, and all of a sudden he has shot up past me, and he's sitting comfy in fourth place
When
and
we
coming
look
in.
back, when we look back at Ray's career in these fantasy football leagues, I once mistakenly thought that Ray had made the playoffs, but no, that was not the case.
That was
Jake,
the team
you
name.
had your team named Gray Flirts, and I thought, well, no. So this is really, I think this is a true underdog story, and not to mention in the upcoming matchup, Ray gets a chance to stick it to TOD, who's
What do
always
you
been pushing
call
him down.
what do you call the underdog of the
The
underdog? Like if
underdog.
two underdogs match up, it's the underdog
And
of that matchup.
the,
That's Ray.
that's right.
He's the below dog. All right. Todd Moy forever continues to plummet down the standings.
He now has
And
less points than all
if Moy
Barkley,
then
no
Moy,
bite. I'm losing my bet.
even though if Moy then Moy got a win, it really does feel like he's eliminated from the playoffs already.
He's done.
He literally has to win out in order to basically get
And
fourth
put up like
place.
200 points a week.
Well, even if he doesn't do that, I just like he's not. I just don't.
It's over. The dream is over.
It really does
What
feel that
happened
way.
last year will just be it will just be a historical run that will never be matched. The lowest points
Look,
scored and the
you've got
second best
to
record.
draft your team.
You can't trade away your drafted team either for pennies on the dollar for second week.
Well, I think you and I disagree on that trade. I think he did just fine getting rid of Dak Prescott. Um, let's take a look. That's pretty much it for that segment. Let's go ahead and move on to the panic bus. All right, this panic bus shrunk a lot because there was a five-way tie for first. Honestly, if you're in that pack, I feel like unless you're Phil, you're feeling pretty comfortable. This week on the panic bus, there's only 3 teams that I have on there.
When I just before we go a second
Yeah.
further, when we were talking about the trades, I was thinking about when I was talking about selling their stuff for pennies on the dollar, I was talking about the Moy, Todd Moy.
Oh yeah.
Borden didn't sell anything for pennies on the dollar. Borden
Yeah.
had equitable trades, but all right, panic
I,
bus.
I think you're very much right. All right,
When I
so
think panic bus, I don't even consider Todd Moy forever because he's been
he
eliminated. So I consider
exactly. There's no reason for him to panic. He gets to chill.
he can consider himself for secondary awards.
So he is not on the panic bus in my mind. On the panic bus, I have the 2 teams on the outside looking in, myself and Borden. Got to be panicking, especially Borden, because he cannot go 6-6 and expect a playoff spot with those tiebreaker numbers. It's just not going to happen.
Now,
Even
do you
me,
play
right now, with that abysmal performance I had, if I go 6-6, I'm not a guarantee to beat anybody out.
The good news is neither of you play each other, and so there is still hope for both of you.
Yeah, although I wouldn't mind matching
Like
up with Borden's team.
if you both win out and go 7-5, I mean, odds are you're likely in the playoffs.
Now, the last team that I've got on the panic bus, and this is a spicy take, I got Phil tied for first
Goat,
place
goat God.
on the panic bus because he has the second lowest scoring in the league. He has to finish at least at 7-5. if he wants a shot. And honestly, I still believe his team just doesn't have it, man. I really like. I'm looking at his. I'm pulling up his team right now.
You
Mahomes,
face him.
great. Herbert, wonderful. Josh Jacobs plays. His remaining schedule is it's decent, but he's got Denver this week and then KC and Atlanta. Two good
Goat
teams.
God.
But who's he have as a second running back? I don't think Eckler's coming back until the fantasy playoffs.
I don't
Miles
know.
Gaskin is not going to be back
Drake.
until like
Kenyon
at
Drake.
least
No.
next year. Kenyon
Maybe.
Drake, I wouldn't start that man. Are you kidding me?
Consider this. Goat God has the hardest schedule to get into the playoffs. He has to go against Todd Moy Avengers.
Ugh.
He has to go against
You just
Corona
Todd Boy
19. Brent.
Avengers?
Yeah, I know. I call it Todd Craig's Avengers. Brent's Corona's 19s. And then you, the best roster in the league, who
Yeah,
everyone has traded great players to.
debatable. If I was the
Debatable.
best roster in the league, I probably wouldn't be on the outside looking in.
Mm.
Dude, and he's lost George Kittle for the season. I don't know why he's still hanging on to him. Austin Eckler's gone for the season. It just Miles Gaskin, all of his talent is injured, and he is he's getting by starting Devin effing Singletary.
Who popped off against me, I think.
Yeah, for 6 points. Woo!
Oh, just 6.
The single in Singletary is for how many digits he has on his score. Single digit Terry. Brutal.
All right.
That's pretty much it for the panic bus. It is time. All right. I put it off for as long as I can. I am here tonight, folks. Folks. I'm here tonight not as your commissioner, but as a humble journalist concerned for the truth of the trades. Let's bring it in. The art of the investigation. All right, guys, a trade went down in our league. Let's go ahead and pull it up. Let's set the stage before we begin talking about the nuts and bolts of the trade.
It took place after the results.
A team with a manager known for pettiness. He's losing his grip on the previous year's MOY award. He knows it. He feels it. He hasn't chirped once about him being MOY since Monday night. Oddly quiet. Gives up his entire, what's left of his roster. And he does it in a way that's just close enough to maybe being viable on the surface. But when you dig deeper, you will find that he is in fact the reigning MOY, is in fact getting Brent over. He is getting Brent over a table. I feel like this trade is really Brenting the rules. I feel like these two teams have really Brent the rules, and I feel like it might be time for the league to get a little Brent out of shape about this trade. I am talking, of course, about the trade between Todd Moy Forever and Brent Van Conia's COVID-19s.
I don't know. Let me just say this. I don't know who initiated the trade. But if Brent might find himself in a position I found myself in a couple years ago, where you're presented just such a juicy trade, even though you know it's wrong, you click yes.
I found myself in that position week 1. The circumstances, however,
much
different this
different.
time around. And when everyone was just one win or one loss, everyone's still trying to win. But as soon as you're eliminated from the playoffs, some teams, especially if you're used to playing in the finals and getting awards like, I don't know, MOY, it could be a little disheartening. You might be tempted to kind of throw the game or throw a temper tantrum. Let's look at the nuts and bolts. We have 2 trades that had happened. The first trade could be considered respectable. David Montgomery for Robbie Anderson. Until you realize, folks, David Montgomery is on concussion protocol. Now, I am not opposed to I'm not vehemently opposed to this trade because if Todd believes that he needs help at running back, then he could trade away some of his receiving depth, knowing that, all right, David I don't need to win anymore. Who cares? I don't need to win. I can trade for guys who are going to have a good playoff so that I can win the toilet bowl. So that's one strategy that I think you could legally and defensively take up with this trade. However, I don't believe that he has improved his roster any. I think it is suspicious. He was shallow at receiver, and he trades away his depth at receiver. That doesn't make much sense to me, does it? He is deep at running back, and he trades four more running backs. He has Derrick Henry, the running back 3 on the season. He has James Robinson, the running back 4 on the season. And he has Joe Mixon, who is averaging almost 17 points per game. That is not a team who needs running backs, yet they're trading for running backs. Suspicious? Okay, but then there was a second part of the deal. So I thought to myself, oh, okay, well, maybe this was just some sort of weird, like, oh, we made one trade, and for some reason we're not smart enough to figure out how to, they're old and it's technology, so whatever. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I looked at the second trade, and I see that Deshaun Watson is being traded. Deshaun Watson, the 6th ranked overall quarterback,
Quarterback
who
in a
is
2 QB league.
absolutely in a 2 QB league, who is absolutely on fire right now. Absolutely on fire. He has put ever since Bill O'Brien has been gone. Deshaun Watson has been on a tear. Now, Deshaun Watson, I thought to myself, okay, well, again, maybe this is a play for the playoffs because Deshaun Watson doesn't have the most friendly playoff schedule. But then I look at who he's being traded for, and I see Philip Rivers, whose nickname is literally P River. He's trading for P River and Amari Cooper,
A receiver who is playing with the 4th-string QB.
who is averaging less points per game than the receiver he traded away.
Their offensive line is decimated by injury.
Amari Cooper, since Dak Prescott went out, has done absolutely nothing of note.
It's just a name.
And it's just a name.
And it's a
Exactly.
cowboy, so everyone in America knows a cowboy.
Sure. Think
Well,
about that.
the Cowboys, the players on the team are basically publicized. They get more publicity playing for
Oh, I see.
America's
Yeah, yeah.
team.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
So there's the nuts and bolts of it. You have a not, I wouldn't call him elite, but I would call him good, startable, absolutely startable. Almost every single team in the league would be able to start Robbie Anderson. Traded for an elite quarterback on the week that Todd is eliminated from the playoffs, and he's getting in return the 27th ranked quarterback. The yeah, Amari Cooper, he's looks good, but he hasn't had a bye week yet. He trades for him. He's on bye this week, so he's trading for him on the week he's on bye. Suspicious. And David Montgomery, a guy who is literally injured in concussion protocol, and who is the running back 14 with averaging less than 13. He's averaging 12 points per game. Like, that's brutal.
Did you have a chance to follow up in person with one of the people involved in this trade?
I'm so glad you asked. I happened I happened to stumble across his path later that day, and not as his commissioner, but as an investigative journalist, I asked him, "Hey, man, what was up with your trades?" Silence. Were you trying to throw the season? Awkward pause, and his response, just make of it what you will. I'm here to present an unbiased opinion. His response, and I quote, "I cannot confirm nor deny," end quote. I'm here to present an unbiased opinion.
These are irrefutable facts.
Look, this trade, I feel like I just need to give it some time to breathe. It feels like I think this might be our first confirmed case of collusion.
I think that it should be put up to a vote. But we need to let everybody weigh in on the who's not involved in the trade.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is the commish did push this trade through.
But that's typical of the commish.
It's typical of the commish. The commish pushes trades through without thinking about it. But the commish does have the power to manually undo this trade. So I think we need to give the league a chance to vote and see whether or not they actually believe that this cannot confirm or deny trade was indeed a collusive effort or an effort to at least throw his season. Because here's the other thing: is it doesn't have to be collusion to be malicious.
Hmm.
It could absolutely be Brent could be just an innocent benefactor. But if it's believed that Todd is doing this as a way of throwing his weight to try to sink someone else's team just to be vindictive or try to just make someone moy, I think that is malicious intent. So the commish is I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab the commish. All right, folks, I'm here as your commissioner. Yes, we are in fact having an investigation, and I believe this investigation will begin with a trial starting tomorrow. And this trial will end in a vote. Brent and Todd, the two teams not that are involved, will not be allowed to vote. They will be allowed to make all the protests and noise they want because it's good entertainment. And yeah, this is serious, folks. This is serious. This is for first potential malicious trade of this young league's tenure here. So yeah, I think that really kind of wraps up the art of the investigation. Now, as it stands, I feel like we've kind of talked about everything. Do we want to talk about our votes for Moy at the moment?
We can do that. We wanted to also highlight what's going to happen this week going forward. So those, I think, are
Thank you, thank you, thank
those
you.
are the last two things we probably need to do.
Yes, let's talk about Moy first.
Hmm.
So I think in the race for Moy, in my mind, there are a couple. It, there's so many. I'm gonna go real quick and just kind of highlight everybody's case for Moy because I think honestly, this is one of the first years that almost everybody could have one, depending on how the rest of the season shakes out. Rest of the season shakes out. Todd Craig, the Avengers, they had a brutal 3-game losing streak, hot start, and brutal 3-game losing streak, and now they're in first place. I think that's some decent adversity to overcome. Now, I think they've kind of done more of this. They haven't really managed a ton, and they have gotten a little bit lucky with their health in that they haven't really had any injuries. But it is something to be in first place and not F it up. There's something to say about that. Corona 19s, I think you have this similar case where, again, those two teams are very, very lucky with their health. No major injuries to either team. Orange Justice, I think, in my opinion, Peter, I think you've got a stronger case because you have been making moves at running back to basically make up for Clyde Edwards-Helaire's shortcomings. You've been having to scramble to find your second running back, and you've done a great job. And you
No
found yourself,
stone. Yeah, I was going to say leave no stone unturned.
yeah, and I think you found yourself near the top. I think this says a lot. Um,
All
chime in and wherever you want here, bro.
all Barkley, no bite. I want to say the fact that this could be his first time in his life being in the playoffs. That's an underdog story. We talk about the underdog to the underdog. That's
It's
the
an
most incredible.
underdog. Yeah, dude. It's an
Um,
underwear dog.
As somebody who's been getting had a lot of shade thrown at him, the GOAT God with a 2 QB stack. If he makes the playoffs, you
Well,
might have
we
to
also have to
consider him for.
consider we really haven't done Barkley's bite enough justice yet. We have to consider Barkley's bite had their first round draft pick brutally ripped away from them in like what, week 1 or week 2?
Yeah,
Saquon Barkley gone for season, poof, just like that.
old
That
Barkley, no bite.
that was a very, very big setback to overcome.
Yeah. Now he's got. I even like his other quarterback that didn't play this past week because Joe Burrow was on bye. So he's got good quarterbacks.
You
His
know,
wide
and like
receivers might be his.
Jonathan Taylor has been a disappointment. Zach Ertz has been a disappointment. He's had several big misses in his early rounds, and he's right there
Still
back. And he's right there in it.
showing up.
Yep. I think we gotta. Yep. I think you're right. We gotta talk about the Goat Squad. Goat Squad. This, in my opinion, Goat Squad is playing. They're basically having a season reminiscent of my dad's season last year.
Yeah.
And that horrible points for, horrible. But their points against is the third lowest in the league. Only Barkley's bite has gotten luckier with points against, and
I'm.
you, of course.
I remember. I remember. Yeah, I've had some good luck.
But yeah, Phil's point differential is actually quite large against him. The only one who's got a worse point differential against them is If Moy Then Moy.
If Borden wins the playoffs with an incredible wide receiver stack, I mean, it will go down as the greatest. That kid took more shade from the media in our league than any other. than any other.
The crooked media.
Maybe the media is a little unfair to him because they demand excellence, but
Yeah.
I would just say we would boot him from the league if he won, so that way we could not have the narrative that you have to participate in the draft to win.
Yes. Oh yeah. If he makes the playoffs the second time, he's getting booted for sure.
See you later.
And then I think we got to talk about myself.
Definitely, you're right there, dude.
Look, I
I see
overcame
it.
Christian McCaffrey. I overcame Kenny Galladay. I overcame uh,
Julio was
Julio
injured for
Jones,
several
Noah
weeks.
Fant. I've overcome. Oh,
Dak
what was that
Prescott.
guy? That's right, Dak Prescott. Oh, and Miles Sanders. Don't forget about him. AJ Brown. Don't forget about him. These are big time fantasy studs that if we redrafted the league right now and everyone was healthy, Miles Sanders would probably go in the first round. Christian McCaffrey would probably go in the first round. AJ Brown's probably going close to the top. Julio Jones would probably be going close to the top. Kenny Galladay's going close to the top. Like these are top. These are like top 3 round picks, all of whom have been injured for me this year, and yet I'm right there. And CMAC is out again. So, dude, I think that if I can overcome CMAC being injured twice in a season, once for 6 weeks, and it's 6 weeks is literally half of a regular season in
In our
fantasy.
league, yeah, it's a 3 double playoff rounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So something to think about.
Who's gonna go? Who's gonna win the? Who do you see in the toilet bowl?
If I'm being honest,
Who are you
myself,
gonna bury two? Bury two
myself,
people.
I'm,
And
I'm gonna
Todd.
win. I'm gonna win the toilet bowl.
And Todd. Hmm.
I don't think I'll make the playoffs.
I think you have a good matchup. I think you play Goat God in the last week. I forget who you played this week.
Yeah. But no, I think
You play Brent this week. Oof.
right, and yeah,
But
I think
you'll
I have a
you'll
chance
people.
to beat him. But
Yeah, you got a good team.
with that crooked trade that just went down,
No.
I feel
We'll
like
see
it's
what
kind of
happens.
over for me.
We'll see what happens. I don't know. I know. Just speaking as a participant in the league, I don't have any affiliation with the organization that runs the league. I find them to be corrupt at times, but I
Sure.
know that they do what's best for business. Uh, I think this goes. I think this will go down as one of the most corrupt trades to take place in our league, and it was a blatant transfer of power.
Wow. Strong words.
Mm. I think I'm almost thinking about talking to other team owners in the league about maybe even a penalty being, handed out to
Oh,
the person who initiated the trades.
okay. Possible loss of draft picks then.
No, I'm thinking more like loss of season awards. Wow.
What sort
We
of
all
season awards are you talking about, Peter?
Moy. If you were the reigning Moy and you're just throwing away your season because you feel like you've been eliminated.
Mm.
That's the type of behavior that's not tolerated by this league.
Now, as the commish, hang on, let me grab the commish.
Yep.
Hello, folks. Commish here. All right, guys. Look, I could take away his Moy award if I wanted to. I could just drive over there, punch in the little code, open the door, walk in, take the stuff, and leave. But I gotta say, I think that is best used as incentive for him to tell the truth
Yeah.
about what's actually going on here.
Yeah.
I think if he comes clean, I'm
You
fine
let him.
letting him. I'm fine letting him hang
Yeah.
on to the Moy award.
Yeah.
If it comes to light that that the trade was crooked, and to me, I will say this on a very, very real personal note. I will say this kind of trading does bother me very much because it ruins the fun for the people in the league who have been trying all year long very hard and put in, I mean, most of us have put in like hours of our time. And I just think it's not cool. So if that is what's going on, personal note, I don't think that's very cool.
Yeah.
It is fun because we get to talk about it, but not cool.
So tomorrow the investigation will be initiated,
Yes.
and we'll go
Yeah,
from
we'll go from there. And folks, that's pretty much all we got for tonight. I am so glad that you joined us on this special edition
there.
of the MOY Ploy. I hope you guys stick with us, and we will catch you all in the next one. Have a good night.
Adios.